Getting back on the Insley Excavator this morning, let me show you what's going on. Okay, in the last video, I was using a machine to take the topsoil off this area right here, and I had a massive oil leak at the swivel unit. I took the swivel unit out, and I also took this control valve out of here. So let me show you what's going on. Now on the bottom of the swivel unit, it's got these 6 O-rings in here. This seats down on, this is the bottom side, this seats down onto the lower housing, and what happened, it blew this O-ring out of here. That's where the leak come from. So I'm trying to figure out why this O-ring blew here. Let's take a look at the control valve. I thought maybe there's an issue with this valve. When this was at the previous owner's house last fall when I was working on it to get it running, it had a pretty good oil leak coming out of this control valve, but I really couldn't tell where because it's right up against the outside frame member of the body. But I think this is where most of the oil from the hydraulic system had leaked out over the years. So once I got the machine running, moved it about 20 feet, and all of a sudden it was pumping oil everywhere out of here. You'll see I cut that access hole in the side of the machine. Right behind it is this little block off plate here. One of these bolt heads was originally broke off. Why, I don't know. It was sheared right off of there. And when we moved it about 20 feet, it busted another one off, put a gap in here, and it blew the O-ring out. So with the oil leak on that swivel unit now, and then with thinking back on this here, I couldn't figure out what would have broke these 2 bolt heads off of here. So I thought maybe the pressure relief valves aren't working. It's putting too much pressure instead of letting it go back to the tank. And these 2 ports control the swivel units. So I'm thinking maybe the issue's related. So I pulled this out. I took it down to Star Hydraulics in Brookston, Indiana. They did all the other hydraulic work for me. It also had a pretty good leak on one of these spool valves up here. So they went through it and they didn't find any issues. They changed the seals in the valves. They went through all the pressure relief valves. So they didn't find any seals that were blown that would have caused excess pressure. So they just went through the whole thing, replaced the seals in the spool valves. They said there a little bit of scoring from probably dirt in the hydraulic system. They polished them up a little bit. So it's ready to go, but they said there really wasn't an issue with this thing. So talking with them down there, here's what I think happened. When I first put this back in several months ago and got it started up, had a little oil leak around here. I could see oil was seeping out. So I crawled underneath the machine, and it's got these 5 bolts that go all the way through that lower housing, hold it together. And they weren't very tight. And I remember going through these, tightening them up a couple of times. Well, once I tightened them up, then the oil leak stopped. So I figured problem solved. What I think happened, being you got these 6 O-rings you have to compress, I tightened all the bolts up and thinking it was tight enough, and apparently maybe from sitting a little bit before I had it running, they compressed a little bit, but all 5 of these bolts I could just turn a little bit, and I went around probably 4 or 5 times with each bolt, and I could just get a little bit of movement, retighten them all up. So maybe, so talking with Trent down at Star Hydraulics, he said possibly when that was initially leaking, it might have pushed this O-ring out of place. When I tightened it up again, it might have pinched it in there. He really couldn't find an issue with too much pressure. So hopefully this will take care of it. I'm going to replace this O-ring, get that put back in. But for starters, let's get that control valve back in. Two hands to pull the rope and one hand to guide the control valve. And this thing is adjustable, so I'll tighten it up once all the lines are hooked up. Control valve is in. Next, I'm going to get the swivel unit in and fill the hydraulic tank up. I'm not going to film that. I've already done that in a previous video. So once I get that wrapped up, then I'll be back. All right, swivel joints back in. Let's start this thing up and see what happens. All right, this is looking good. About ready for gravel. Insley's running good, no issues with that. Got everything done here. Before I have asphalt millings hauled in here, I've got some other plans to do first. So that'll be coming up probably in a future video. Thanks for watching.